I'd like to call the October meeting of the Hudson River Black River Regulating District to order.
Flags in front
It's
of
back there.
Oh, here.
The little one right there.
That works.
Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Roll call.
Mr. Chairman. David Bergstresser.
Here.
Albert Hayes.
Here.
Mark Finkel.
Here.
Thomas Stover.
Here.
Michael Clark.
Here.
Robert Leslie.
Here.
Robert Fulton.
Here.
John Hudson.
Here.
Richard Farrar. Here. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I need a motion to adopt the meeting agenda. Is there any additions, revisions? None that I know of.
I so moved.
Okay. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. No guests?
I guess.
Well,
Mr. and Mrs.
speakers.
Speakers.
No public comments. We're ripping right through this. All right, everybody, I need approval of the regular board minutes from the September 10th. That was a special meeting. Right?
No, those are regular.
No,
It was regular. Oh, it's regular. Oh, sorry.
So moved.
Mr. Finkel.
Second.
Okay,
Mr. Stover.
motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, let's get right to the report of the executive director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report is on, I think that's page 29 of your board package. For the month of September, staff and I, particularly General Counsel, and also our Chief Fiscal Officer, continued dialogue with hydroelectric generators regarding issues of refunds and the headwater benefits charges, essentially the whole works. I also wanted to mention to the board, I did distribute last week a letter from the Office of the State Comptroller regarding a notice of engagement for an audit. It's been 9 years since we've had one, and we
Is it
expected one.
2004.
That's why I didn't recognize it.
So we had expected one before now, but here you go. And we will update the board as once that occurs. We expect that to begin later this month. Also, myself and our chief engineer, Mr. Fulton, met with Fulton County officials and their consulting engineer. Continued the discussion regarding potential for sale of water from Great Sacandaga to a Fulton County Water District if it were to be created. They expect to meet with us again. Right now, essentially what we're going to wait for is what we were expecting from them is a more formal proposal, essentially, with quantities and some numbers that we actually can talk about to quantify what they're looking for. At which point they did say that they would be more than willing to come before the board and discuss it in a public meeting. Mm-hmm. At that point, when there was a more concrete proposal before us. I also want to mention quickly that at the end of this meeting, the chief engineer kindly scheduled a tour of the Mercer Hydro, which is situated right next to the Stillwater Dam here, down the unnecessary dam road. And it's for all board members and staff, and I guess whoever else would like to peek down there. I don't know that we're going to do the full tour where we climb all the way down into that silo, but we may have the option if we want.
Yeah, my blessing. I've already done it.
And that is right after this meeting. And that is my report. Oh, I also would say that I forgot to mention this before. Last Friday, I attended the annual meeting of the Great Sacandaga Lake Association. annual bidder meeting and said a few words, as did everybody else there. And I would emphasize again that it's important that the district and myself in particular continue to do those kind of things as, so that the public has as much opportunity to get to me as they possibly can. So they do anyway, but the more available I am, the better things are. I'd rather hear things sooner than later.
We want to remain transparent.
And that's my report.
Good. Any questions?
I have none.
Okay, I have none. Thank you. All right, let's get right into the contracts. The first one is the resolution to approve the amendment number 3 to Gomez and Sullivan's contract, the dam breach analysis. You want to say anything, Rob? Or
It's just a contract extension, I believe. Time, correct?
do we need a motion on it?
It's a resolution.
It's a resolution.
Okay.
Yes. Motion to adopt.
All right.
it.
Also move.
So I got a motion. Do you need a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Second one. Oh, Mr. Leslie, you might want to explain the solicitation.
This one might take a little bit more. This is a resolution to authorize the solicitation of legal services to represent the district in a lawsuit to be filed against Erie Boulevard Hydropower. The basis of the suit against Erie Boulevard would be as follows. FERC issued its headward benefits determination on July 31st, 2000. It set the headwater benefit for 2000 to 2008 at $1,008,000 and change, and set Erie's current ongoing headwater benefit from 2009 onward at $365,100 per year. Based on those figures, through the regulating district's current fiscal year, Erie now owes a total headwater benefit of $3,675,140. However, Erie claims its due credit for $7,296,868, which represents the difference between the state law-based assessments Erie would have paid between 2002 and 2008 and the 2002 through 2008 headwater benefit assessment assigned to Erie by FERC. The regulating district rejects Erie's claims for an offset because Erie released any and all claims to the assessments at issue, and they did that in a suit they had commenced between 2002 and 2005. They commenced 6 separate suits challenging the 2001 through 2005-06 assessments and apportionments levied by the regulating district. The parties reached an agreement in May of 2006 whereby Fulton County Supreme Court Justice Richard Alisi, in a stipulation of settlement and order, memorialized the terms of that settlement. And pursuant to that settlement, the regulating district provided Erie with a reduction in its assessments for 2007, 8, and 8, 9. It also agreed to an additional $380,000 to all statutory beneficiaries, which provided Erie with an additional monetary benefit and a reduction of its assessment by $46,000 for 6, 7, 7, 8, and 8, 9. We acknowledge that we entered into this May 2006 amendment, and that as part of the consideration extended the reservoir operating agreement that we have with Erie Boulevard. Each of the parties on its own behalf and each of the others released the other for claims, any and all claims, between July 1 and June 30, 2006, July 1, 2000 and June 30, 2006. And then Erie agreed to waive any future challenges or claims with respect to the district's July 1, 2006 through June 30, 2009 budgets, assessments, and or apportionments. And so basically, Erie released their $7 million claim, and we have a $3.6 million claim against them. So basically, they owe us money. We've talked to FERC about it. FERC said that they would not adjudicate this. They would rather we bring to them either a state or federal court determination, and that they would look at that. They didn't necessarily have to give it deference, but it is a state of the union, and they are the federal government. They ought to give full faith and credit to the decisions of the various states. We have sent a request to the Attorney General to request their representation in a suit against Erie. To date, we have not heard from them. Basically, they haven't had adequate time to fully assess our request. But we're asking you now here to authorize the Executive Director to solicit legal representation in the event that the Attorney General declines our request for assistance. And that's it.
Essentially to go out for proposals, right?
Yeah, to go out for proposals, to hire somebody to start to put together this suit and move forward collecting the monies that we believe we're due.
Okay.
We've never had to okay solicitation before. I'm just curious as to why
Well,
while we were waiting for a decision from the AG.
because we're thinking about an affirmative suit.
Okay.
In other cases, you would have been served with a lawsuit, which then required an
Got it.
answer.
Okay.
And that the time pressure of getting the answer kind of
Especially
truncates.
consider suing somebody.
Yeah.
Right. This is the other way.
Okay.
We haven't got anything pending right now, and we're talking about starting to swing for the fences. So
I have no problem with
I
that.
want you guys to understand that we're swinging for the fences before we go that direction.
Okay. That answers my question. All right. So I need any other questions? You guys all understand what we're doing? We're actually going to try and collect some money that somebody else, rather than somebody trying to take it from us.
Yeah.
Okay. I need a motion.
So move.
And second.
Mr. Finkel, Mr. Stover.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, see what you can find. Thank you. Okay, I guess we get into the staff reports. Anything else? We'll go back to you, Mr. Lyson.
I'll try and be brief. This one's all too long. I assisted the executive director and the chief fiscal officer in the preparation of a report talking about our use of outside counsel. To date, record demonstrates that we averaged around $324,000 per year between 7/8 and 9/10. In a concerted effort to curtail the use of outside counsel, we've brought that down to the point where the average has dropped to $38,000 for years 10, 11, 11, 12, and 12, 13. We now solicit and secure representation from the Attorney General where appropriate, avoiding unnecessary litigious positions, and limit the use of outside counsel to the bounds of the contract under which such counsel is retained. So we've submitted that report now, and we believe we'll hear nothing else from it. If we do, we'll let you know.
Okay.
The trend continues down. I think this year, to date, this year, we're under $9,000 for the year. A significant change from when I came here 5 years ago. We spent $390,000 that
I
year on outside
was
counsel.
always amazed at how much went out of our budget every year for legal counsel.
On September 13th, the AG's office participated in an oral argument before the Appellate Division 3rd Department with respect to the Albany engineering case. A decision is expected in 6 to 8 weeks from that date. Basically, we're holding on for that decision. We hope it'll be a good one for us. Myself, the Executive Director, and the Chief Fiscal Officer participated in another round of the Civil Appeals Settlement Conferences with representatives of Northern Electric Power Company and South Glens Falls. Bonus points for anybody who knows what we call that. Borelegs. And we didn't get very far before the settlement judge, but our continuing talks, I guess is the best way to put it. Our decision the decision of the appellate division that we await in Albany Engineering will affect the Borlaug's case. The Lewis County attorney, Richard Graham, contacted us about filing an amicus brief, or a friend of the court brief, in Niagara Mohawk's appeal against the Supreme Court decision upholding a Lewis County foreclosure upon 1,200 acres for NIMO's non-payment of our assessments. Basically, the county had rejected NIMO's partial tax payment because NIMO excluded the amounts assessed by the regulating district when it submitted its school and county tax payment. NIMO erroneously claimed that the regulating district assessments have no basis, due in part to the U.S. Court of Appeals D.C. Circuit Albany Engineering decision. So basically, NIMO failed to pay their $371 assessment, and they did that 2 years in a row, and after foreclosure ended up paying a $67,000 penalty to Lewis County, and had to repurchase the
Over
properties.
non-payment of how much?
$371. So, NIMO is not suing just us. They're suing anybody they can think of, and they're engaging in litigation over our assessments everywhere that they can put it. So, the Supreme Court Justice in Jefferson County, or in Lewis County, rejected NIMO's claim. That matter is now on appeal up to the Appellate Division 4th Department, which is in Rochester. Lewis County attorney has asked us to file a friend of the court brief, and we're considering how to do that, what we would be able to add to the question, so to speak. Finally, in accordance with the training requirements imposed by Jacob, which you're all familiar with now, and a separate training requirement imposed by the New York State Inspector General, we've now provided comprehensive ethics training to all financial disclosure filers for the regulating district. We trained in conflicts, nepotism, gifts, approvals necessary for outside activities. We surfaced a question regarding the proper use or interpretation of the terms relative and supervision with regard to a nepotism complaint. We discussed gifts and addressed the new and noteworthy exceptions to the acceptance of a gift, even from a disqualified source, noting that food and beverages valued 15 or less per event are now excluded, and that comp tickets to an event are permissible where the event is widely attended but must be offered by a sponsor of the event. 25 individuals not from our agency must attend or have in good faith been invited to attend, and where that event is related to a board member or official or employee's duties. We distinguished between an invite to speak at a boat show on permissible dock configurations versus box seats to the next Miley Cyrus concert. Board members and staff are reminded to seek approval or seek and secure approval for outside activities such as public or private employment for compensation, campaigning or running for office, serving as a director or officer for a for-profit corporation or institution. So, I made a deliberate error in there. Did any of you guys catch the error? It was right at the end.
No, go ahead. Enlighten
Senior
us.
staff need to seek outside approval activity. Board members do not. So, I just went through it this morning with some of you guys, and I wanted to see if any of it was getting in. So, in any case, we've got on the record that we've now looked at all those things, and we can hopefully continue to revisit it on a regular basis. That's it.
Thank you.
Unless there's any questions.
Any questions?
No questions.
No? Thank you. Let's get on to Mr. Ferrara's report.
Chairman, my report can be found on pages 38 to 88. I'll focus my report on the fiscal outlook highlights on page 38. As of the close of September, cash flow for the most part for the Black and the Hudson and Red forecasted levels. On the financial front, we expect to receive all assessments every year, by the end of this month. Generally speaking, we should be fairly whole by the first to second week of November. We have issues in the black, back to the NIMO issues, so we, at this point, continue to not expect to receive that, but aside from those assessments, we should receive basically everything else. On the Hudson River side, we would expect to receive all of the Hudson River area assessments except Rensselaer County by the end of October, first week of November, and then Rensselaer County, January. Bond resolutions. The bond council has sent me a draft of the resolution that would cover the capital projects, the ice sluice and the sirens. That would be the taxable portion of any bond that would ultimately be issued. They're currently working on a bond that would cover the non-taxable or any settlement having to do with refunds. Their recommendation is, at this point, to present to the board two separate resolutions, capital projects and being one, and then the settlements being the other. That doesn't prevent us from being creative with the bond in terms of how we do the bonding. So they don't have to be separate bonds, but their recommendation is it's a lot cleaner to do them separately and much more easy to follow. So my expectation is we should have at least the capital bond resolution by the November meeting.
Okay.
Not sure about the other one, but we'll play that by ear at this point. I have one other thing. I have provided all the board members and the executive director with the bound copy of the independent audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2013. The plan is to still have the principal of the Bonavia Group, Mr. Walther, present to the board at the Watertown meeting in December.
Okay.
So you will have all the advanced information that he will be covering. That report has also been provided to the Authority Budget Office via Paris, the Public Authority Report System, on time once again. It is an unqualified report. And the report is out on the website, so if anybody would just prefer to look on the website, it is out there currently displayed. And unless the board has any questions, that is my report.
I'm just curious,
Sure.
on the bond issue, you said
Yes.
the issue has been raised due to the minimum number of board
Yes, there is.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Mr. Leslie can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's, well, I'm not sure exactly which part of local finance law, but there is, as you go through, kind of a series of steps that the bond council walked us through, and it was very helpful for me to follow it that way, but they did get to the point where the number of board members to approve is based on
The full.
full membership of the board, not the current quorum, so, and it has to be 2/3. So it would be 2/3 of 7, which
Is 5.
is 5.
Round it up.
Being
Which
if
we
there's
just-
4, we're one short.
So that's their opinion, interpretation, and I believe, I certainly, and I think the council agrees with that opinion. So, which is probably another reason why bringing a bond resolution today was not going to be useful, but other than.
So we have no other options other than to wait for another board member in order to bond.
Right.
Correct, but we can get all the resolutions ready
Sure.
and make sure we have all the i's dotted.
Put all our
t's
ducks in a
crossed.
row.
Correct.
Well, we have had,
Thank you, Mr. Fink, I meant to point that out.
we have had some movement from the appointments.
Yes, there have been discussions. I'm still hopeful that it'll be soon. That's as best as what I can say.
Me too. For a number of reasons. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Thank you. Let's, how about the chief engineer's report, Mr. Fulton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report begins on page 89. September continued with continued dry weather, with precipitation in the Hudson River area, in the 50 to 60% of historic average through September 22nd, resulting in inflows of only 40 and 32% of historic average at GSL and Indian Lake. Our releases at both those facilities were lower than historic average also, at 77 and 78%. In the Black River area, precipitation was below average again for the month, ranging from about 60 to 80% of historic. And our release out of Stillwater Reservoir was approximately 57% of historic average. If you take a look at beginning on page 95, since we've now completed our summer refill and all the way through the summer and are on tracking now and looking towards preparing for spring, as we always do in the cycle. You get a good indication of how closely we tracked to our targets or average, depending on the facility. And I think overall it went fairly well once we worked through some of that late spring, early summer rain that we had this year. And poised and ready at Old Forge and Six Lake both beginning next week to begin the drawdown. And overall, I think long-term forecast is for a little warmer temperatures through the winter and an equal chance of precipitation being above or below average. So at this point, I don't expect any significant changes that will affect our operation through the drawdown period at this point. In fact, actually, it's the dry weather allowed us to track as we would hope to be able to track, and as compared to having to store some water this time of the year as a result of some of the typical heavy rains that we receive at the end of September and through October. So, any questions? I'd be glad to answer those. Otherwise, that concludes my report.
Thanks. We don't have to wait till the swamps are full?
Yeah. It helps sometimes.
No, any other questions?
No.
Okay. I'm all set. Okay, let's go with the
This one was so full.
Hudson and Black River area reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report starts on page 119. We had a New York State DEC dam safety inspection at Old Forge. I'm not sure the outcome yet of it.
You've not received the letter.
We haven't received a letter yet, but it looks pretty good. Mercer hydro plant right down here that we're going to take a tour of has been offline and online quite a bit in the past month. Actually, more often, I think, on. They had a part that they had to have manufactured, and so it was down for a while. Myself and the chief fiscal officer has been up to the Black River area office, working with them up there and procedures and updates and different things like that, working with Kim and Laurie. And staff at SFO has been working on upstream masonry repairs at the Indian Lake Dam, and staff at the Black River area office have been working on masonry repairs at the Stillwater Dam upstream and downstream. So just trying to maintain our integrity. One other thing I have is that we were informed last month about a permit that was available for lease on Craigslist, a beach permit. Somebody had it posted that they were going to lease out their permit area. So we tracked it down, found out where it was, who it was, and have sent them a letter letting them know it was a direct violation of the rules and regulations to remove it immediately. To date, I haven't got any response back from that letter, but I'll be following up on it tomorrow to make sure that it is removed from Craigslist. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's actually explicit in the rules, which is
Right.
Okay.
I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody may have.
I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'd like to bring a couple of things up in front of the board. I'm going to need a motion to rescind Resolution 13-30-08. That is,
Also moved.
okay. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Okay, I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now, I'd like to authorize the executive director to come back with a plan for us, or options, I guess, at the next meeting, hopefully, to see what we can do to, how we can address the situation.
I will have a formal plan back to the board in advance of that, so you can review it.
Okay, thank you.
And I would hopeful that we could take formal action at that meeting for a permanent solution.
Solution to the problem.
A permanent plan, maybe not a solution. Permanent plan to deal with this.
Okay.
Okay.
We've gotten a lot of flack over it, so let's see what we can do with it. One other thing I'd like to bring up. Now that would it be possible for the district to purchase some sort of MacBooks or tablets for all the board members to eliminate this every month? I have banker's boxes full of this stuff from over 5 years, and I have no way to reference it. Other than, the only way I'd have to reference it would be to go through the archives on the website. And I see no point in us, just something dedicated to the 7 board members, the 4 existing and the 3 fictitious.
We will, we'll take a look at state contract
Would you?
and budget, and
I think it would save us a lot of money.
It's not something that it'll be done by the next meeting,
That's fine.
most likely, but hopefully something we can get in place. But let's look at pricing and what's available on
So that we don't have to use,
OTS.
they don't have to use your own, it's something that can be dedicated to that and be done with the hordes of paperwork that I've stored over 5 years. And I've kept all of it. Why, I don't know. Anything else?
No, I have nothing.
Okay. So I need a motion for the next board meeting at, I believe it's.
It's Warren County.
Warren County.
Mr. Chairman, I did
Okay.
have one thing to offer on that.
What is the date on it now?
I was going, well, right now, the tentative date that was set back at the beginning of the year was November 6th.
Okay.
To get staff here for that particular meeting, I would ask the board to consider the following week. The week of, well, it's the week of Veterans Day, that's
Right.
Monday. I would throw out for discussion November 13th, that's a Wednesday, it's a little unusual, but if that works for everyone, that's probably, I'd hate to let it go longer
No,
than that, but if we could
That's
do
fine.
November 13th.
I have no problem with it.
I don't have a problem.
And that's at the Warren County offices.
So, and that's available at the Warren County offices?
Yes, I believe they are. Well, I mean, we'll confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll have to-
lead time could be an issue, but we'll,
To check on it. If not, we'd have to.
You know, if it's not Warren County, there's Washington County 4 miles
we
away.
have other options. and
So
other-
there's
Okay.
several places close by.
All right. So I need a motion to set the November meeting for Wednesday, November 13th tentatively at the Warren County Municipal Center.
So moved.
All right. Have a motion?
Second.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So be it. So